Thank you, Chairman Thune, and thank you both Secretary Foxx and Secretary Pritzker for being here and for the hard work you do for our country. Secretary Foxx, I enjoyed having you in New Mexico recently and visiting about infrastructure, and several of my questions today are going to follow up on some of the things we talked about then. Capitalizing on the growth of freight rail infrastructure in New Mexico is an issue I've been working on for some time. Recently, Union Pacific opened a $400 million Union Pacific transloading facility at the Santa Teresa port of entry. And BSNF has broken ground on a $5 million transloading facility in Belen, south of Albuquerque. These private investments are helping connect New Mexico's businesses with the world and creating a transportation hub in my home state. The Department recognized this opportunity and recently awarded a $400,000 Tiger grant to develop a strategic transportation plan for Santa Teresa. And I support the President's request for $7.5 billion over 6 years to more than double the size of the Tiger grant program, because I think investments like this are critical. A couple of questions around this. What other resources in the President's request can help local communities capitalize on rail growth? Are there other sources of funding or support that you believe can help local communities who are experiencing growth update their infrastructure? And how can growing communities get help in the short term?
So, in terms of your question on freight growth, the President's proposal contains a $29.4 billion allocation to the National Freight Plan. Senator Cantwell has been just an incredible voice on pushing for a national freight plan. But it's important to get that plan funded so that the local projects can happen. And so our proposal would put a very substantial amount of money in place. Now, how that would work is states, local communities, even groups of states could apply to the Department for that money, so it would be awarded on a competitive basis. But the idea is to get scale out of investments that are specifically designed to connect us to the 21st century economy. In terms of what can be done in the short term, we do have another round of Tiger that will be announced shortly, sometime in the spring. There'll be a notice of funding availability for that program. It's a $500 million program this year. As you point out, we would like to see that program much bigger because we can get a lot more done and get many more good projects happening around the country. Great,
thank you. As usual, Senator Cantwell is always out in front on important issues like this. Secretary Pritzker, I supported legislation championed by Senator Blunt and Senator Brown to establish a network for manufacturing innovation. Today, the University of New Mexico is part of a consortium that is a finalist for one of the manufacturing institutes focused on advanced photonics. Could you expand on your testimony about how the Commerce Department intends to help coordinate activities between the various new national network of advanced manufacturing institutes?
Well, Senator, we're very excited about the fact that the Revitalize American Manufacturing Bill passed towards the end of last year. And our proposal is, the bill calls for the NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, to act as the network provider, if you will. And so in our budget, we call for $10 million to provide the glue between the various institutes. In other words, if you think that we'll probably, by the end of this calendar year, have roughly nine institutes up and operating, I believe. The point being there's an opportunity for them to learn from one another, and we would run that effort. The second proposal in our budget is for 2 institutes to be created by the Department of Commerce, and those would be the result of a competition where the private sector would determine the technology that would be the focus of those institutes. The previous institutes, the technologies have been determined by either the Department of Energy or the Department of Defense. And we think that that's an important differentiation that some of our manufacturing institutes ought to have.
Thank you both for your testimony. I have a question also on the Economic Development Administration that I'll submit for the record. There's some really important work you're doing in Albuquerque, but I've run out of time. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.